on Sports Talk Worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, let me hurry up with this. This is going to be about basically the heavyweight division, but boxing in general. I'm going to hurry up with this. You know what I'm saying? When you get older, bruh, if you ain't feeling good, used to be 3-4 days, just double it, right? So let me hurry up this, but this is some things I got to catch up on before, just blows over. And it's about our sanctioning bodies. Things that we complain about a lot, the boxing people. I've seen Floyd Mayweather been complaining about this forever. Me, I complain about this all the time. We have too many belts. We have too many sanctioning bodies. I told you before, if somebody says, you in the auditorium, somebody says, hey, champ, stand up. Everybody going to stand up except you, right? Because it's just a whole bunch of champions. I've been complaining about this for the longest. But hey, let's see, because how you is when you're, just a YouTube dude, right? And you happen to be of color, then they just call you a black channel or something, you know what I'm saying? But now maybe somebody might listen. Because Eddie Hearn, the promoter of Anthony Joshua and others, bad boy, young boy, handles his business, right? You can't say if you like Eddie Hearn or not. You can't say the man ain't working and ain't working hard, right? And when it comes to promoters, for all those that don't like Eddie Hearn, let's make sure this is clear. What promoter do you like? What, Frank Warren? What Don King? Bob Arum? Oscar De La Hoya? So basically, they're in the we don't like none of them line. So he's just over there with them, right? But he handles his business. Now, Eddie Hearn been complaining of late about this. It's too many sanction bodies. Maybe we should fight without the sanctioning bodies, right? And that's the difference between sympathy and empathy and stuff like that, right? It takes time. Most of the time, something got to happen to your butt first before you can kind of feel what's going on. It's never, hey, I don't like what's happening to them. People really can't do that, right? That's a problem. That's why you need to boom, right? You need a little empathy, right? Because this has been going on a long time, and I can give you the examples why I like what Eddie Hearn is complaining about and everything, but the reason he's complaining about it irks me, and it's hypocrisy. Give you an example, right? We don't like these sanctioning bodies. Eddie Hearn is complaining because basically, hey, he wants to make Anthony Joshua fight versus Tyson Fury for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, right? But the WBO is a sanctioned body that we care about, and basically the WBO is significant, and they're saying, hey, boxing royalty, Alexander Usyk needs his shot, right? But he wants him to, hey, wait, y'all got to back up. We want this undisputed fight, right? And I'm complaining about where was that energy when you was talking about Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, right? And for those, hey, he's objective until he starts talking about Deontay Wilder. Well, this might be a problem. Might want to turn it off now because I'm not going to be objective right now because I'm talking about Deontay Wilder. And I'm telling you, when Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua was supposed to fight, the people weren't this energetic about seeing the damn fight because we had a date in September 2018, right, that we couldn't get at Wembley Stadium, and then they just all of a sudden, we can't have that date in Wembley, right? Because the fight had to be in England. Well, all of a sudden, Povetkin came. Nobody wanted to call the WBO, the WBA at the time and say, hey, Povetkin's not that important because he definitely wasn't as significant as Alexander Usyk. Now, was he? Povetkin's not boxing royalty like Alexander Usyk. But hey, we had to fight Povetkin all of a sudden. Everybody was okay with that. No one was complaining about Undisputed at that time. The fight between Wilder and Anthony Joshua should have happened, right? Only difference between Wilder and Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury is this. Somebody can get flatlined, right? Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury both fancy that fight. Their fans fancy that fight. If you're a Tyson Fury fan, you think Tyson Fury going to outbox Anthony Joshua with ease. That's what Tyson Fury fans think. Anthony Joshua will be like, we're going to catch him. Might not be early, but we're going to catch, Tyson Fury. But they don't think they can be face down on the canvas. Right? That element is out. That's why everybody kind of wants to see that fight. They won't tell you that, but it is what it is. That's why. Both of them want to have it real bad. Not about the money, really. It's like, hey, we got a huge fight. Ain't nobody going to get hurt up in here. Right? That's what's going on. That happened with Povetkin. No one was complaining. Not Eddie Hearn. Right? We just put Povetkin in there and somebody called up the WBA. Now, speaking of calling up the WBA, right? They called him up. Vladimir Klitschko called him up. When Louis the Real King Kong Ortiz was the mandatory for Vladimir Klitschko and the winner, he was supposed to fight the winner of Vladimir Klitschko versus Anthony Joshua. Somebody called WBA and said put that belt on the line, right? It was on the line in that fight. Just put it on in the fight. Instead of saying, hey, y'all fight, and the winner gonna have to fight for the WBA to fight Ortiz. Didn't happen, right? Got swept under the rug. I didn't see Eddie Hearn complaining then, or anyone else, right? Those are examples, and that's just the heavyweight examples because of Eddie Hearn, right? This is what's bothering me with him because we could have, if you really didn't like this with all these sanctions bodies, we could have been complaining with us when we've been complaining the whole time. Floyd Mayweather been complaining the whole time. Here's one, GGG, Triple G, bad dude, middleweight division, right? He just fought Semeretta. 5 knockouts, guys, from 25 fights, and I told you he wanted to fight him because he was hell-bent on fighting him because he knows he can walk him down and look good doing so. Well, Semeretta wasn't really the mandatory. GGG and his camp called up the IBF to make sure that they put him in the mandatory position so it won't look bad that he was hell-bent on fighting him. Because he was hell-bent on fighting him. All those other options were out there. You know, the Andrades and the Charlos of the world. They're always out there. But we're not going to fight them. We got to fight Semeretta, and so please make him the mandatory. That's what they did. So nobody's complaining about sanctioned bodies there. Canelo Alvarez, right? We know the deal. Canelo Alvarez has to fight Charlo, a very formidable mandatory. What happens? I called up the WBC, the sanctioning body. Called him up and said, hey, let's figure out something why I ain't got to fight this dude. WBC obliged him. And what? Franchise title was born. Franchise title. Born right then. And then Charlo says, hey, well, hold up then. I'll fight him for whatever that new title is. Nope, dog. You can't fight him for that. It's not transferable. You can't. Nope, you can't have it. Right? Then we get to the next guy. Lomachenko says, well, hey, I don't want to fight Haney either. He's my mandatory. He's kind of hard. I'd rather fight Teofimo Lopez for this stuff. Can you give me the same thing? So they called up the WBC. Now, if WBC was just giving it out without these calls, making sure it's clear before you start complaining. Lomachenko called to ask, request for that. What does Charlo and Devin Haney have in common? You answer that yourself, right? The few things they have in common. But one thing is, they're some bad-ass dudes, right? Can we agree on that, right? So we don't fight them. Right? Another thing though, what we like undisputed. We want one champion. Now we got too many champions. We want one, right? Canelo could have fought Demetrius Andrade for undisputed, right? Last year on the Mexican holiday. No one mentioned it except me. I keep mentioning it because for me that was the biggest story of last year. The story is not only that Canelo didn't want to fight that, he was waiting on Sergey Kovalev 2 weight divisions higher, waiting on him to heal after a fight. It wasn't really that. It's the fact that why is all of boxing not talking about an undisputed fight in middleweight division with a guy that can speak English that's awesome and been wanting to fight Canelo for 5 years? That was eerie to me. That was the Twilight Zone type stuff, right? That everybody wasn't talking about that. Weird. Right now, so all of a sudden, remember, the franchise title was not transferable. But with Lomachenko and Lopez, all of a sudden the WBC just changed the rule right then. All of a sudden it's transferable to Lopez, not Devin Haney, but to Lopez, right? Now, something as brand new as the franchise title is, we're going to tell you that the winner of Lopez and Lomachenko was all of a sudden undisputed, even though we know that Devin Haney got the title. Man, that's patronizing to me. That's patronizing to me. And nobody really cares about undisputed anymore because it's like as long as it's the wrong dude's undisputed, it is what it is. So those are the reasons. When I'm looking at things like that going throughout the boxing world, it just, to me, it's patronizing and corrupt. And those are the things you're going to focus on. Now, Eddie Hearn has a point right now. Damn it, y'all getting in the middle, in the way of undisputed? Because let's be honest, doesn't undisputed supposed to trump mandatories? It is, right? But not sometimes. It was supposed to trump the mandatory when Povetkin, when you slipped him in there. We were supposed to be, this is what the narrative should be. Oh, Povetkin? Yeah, well, too bad, Povetkin, because we got an undisputed fight between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. But everybody was okay with Povetkin. So, damn it, you're supposed to be okay with Alexander Usyk, right? But you won't be, because that fight you won't, right? Let's see what happens going forward. I agree with Eddie Hearn. There is way too many champions. I'm consistent, though. I'm always talking about undisputed. That's why Alexander Usyk is boxing royalty and Terence Crawford are boxing royalty. We should treat them different because no one, and I mean no one, cares about Undisputed anymore. And that's the only thing where we can say we can have one championship. If it was up to me, I would do boxing like tennis. We got a champion and everyone else got a seed or a ranking, right? And then when somebody's at number one, like a Canelo, for example, right now, and I'm sorry, but it is what it is, even though Canelo's awesome, but we just seem to give him the red carpet and he can do what he wanted to do. But if Canelo was fighting the 15th seed and the 20th seed all the time, would never fight nobody seeded or ranked in the top five, then we can get on him, right? And everybody can get on him, right? Or let's say this, and this I gave this example before. If it was a tennis tournament, let's say the number 15 seed made it to the finals. You can't say I'm not going to play him in the finals because you don't like his style or because he doesn't deserve it when he just beat other people in the quarterfinals and the semifinals to meet you, right? But in boxing, we can just say the other guy's not worthy. And then I'm going to fight somebody who's not closely to worthy as the guys that we're saying, right? Because I know damn well a Yildirim is not more worthy than an Andrade or a Charlo, right? But let's just see how it is going forward. That's just the hypocrisy I want to say when it's coming to Eddie Hearn talking about the sanctioning bodies. He's right, but I don't like his motivation. Donut Sports Talk Worldwide, and we up out of here, y'all.